Welcome to Atlanta, hammers and bows, back to the mackin' and the clothes, adolescents packing a knock on the door.
Who is it?
I would happen to know, the one with the flow.
Who did it?
It was me, I suppose. JD in the rolls and Luda's in the cut supreme, skating down old Nat, tucked and lean. His spleen, as a matter of fact, I your team. No blood on the sneaks, gotta keep it so my kicks is clean. I get the cream, cops see me flick my beams. I'm allergic to doc prescribed antihistamines. Oink, oink, pig, pig, do away with the pork. Only silverware needs a steak knife and a fork. Did you forget your manners? I'm Bruce with banners. Ludacris, Johnny Rockets when I the cannon. The woolly mammoth, saber tooth, bite your tongue. I won't stop until I'm rich as them whites will come. I pull up in a black Lotus, your plaques are bogus. So I stripped them off the wall, waiting for my cue to corner pocket 8 balls. You racking them up, I'm big paper like pancakes, stacking them up. In fact, I'm slapping them up. Cadillac is a truck, I can't lose with 22s. That's what's up. Running in the back, the better than the aqueduct. Chilling in the wood.
Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to Atlanta where the players play and we ride on them things like every day. Big beats hit streets, see gangsters roaming, and parties don't stop till 8 in the morning.
Welcome to Atlanta where the players play and we ride on them things like every day. Big beats hit streets, see gangsters roaming, and parties don't stop till 8 in the morning.
Now the party don't start till I walk in, and I usually don't leave until the thing is. But in the meantime, in between time, you work your thing, I work mine. I've been putting it down here since 83, since the Lake Show MD rivalry, when Frozen Paradise was the place to be. If you was riding, you was bumping the homie Shy D. I'm the MVP, most ballingest player. Make my own rules, call me the mayor. Monday night, Gentlemen's Club. Tuesday night, I'm up in the Velvet Room getting up. Wednesday, I'm at Strokers on lean. Thursday, jump clean, then I fall up in cream. Friday, Shark Bar Kaya with Frank Ski. Right on the flow is where you can find me. Saturday is off the Heezy for Sheezy. You can find me up in one Tweezy. Sunday is when I get my sleep in, cause on Monday we be at it again. Holla. Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to Atlanta where the players play and we ride on them things like every day. Big beats hit streets, see gangsters roaming, and parties don't stop till 8 in the morning.
Welcome to Atlanta where the players play and we ride on them things like every day. Big beats hit streets, see gangsters roaming, and parties don't stop till 8 in the morning.
Welcome to Atlanta where the players play and we ride on them things like every day. Big beats hit streets, see gangsters roaming, and parties don't stop till 8 in the morning.
Welcome to Atlanta where the players play and we ride on them things like every day. Big beats hit streets, see gangsters roaming, and parties don't stop till 8 in the morning.
Jamming my music line. Zone 4, it's a gas. DJ turn me up, do not turn me down. Just gon' turn me up. Roscoe dance, what's up? What's up? What's up? It's out here we all the way turned up. 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 DJ turn me up, crank it to the max. I got lots of value, I be blowing sad. Polo on my shoes and turn the max. I be so turned up, I be swagging to the max. If you get it in and you get it out, don't pop a bottle, this right in your song. 4 bottles on, you can smell it on my clothes. And I'm man up in my switch, about to take one to the night. I'm gone in another song. I be riding on the exit with no one fuck going on. They like what it going on. I don't really know. Then I roll down all my windows and I crank that. It's out here.
You know what? I think we got to appease John tonight. Is that a good compromise?
Rolling north on 95 with a redhead riding shotgun and a pistol by my side.
It's a Marietta boy there for you.
Tearing down that highway like a modern day Bonnie and Clyde. We met at a truck stop, Johnson City, Tennessee. I was gassing up my Firebird when I heard her calling me. Said, which way are you headed, boy? Do you need some company? She had me stopping at a quick mart before we made it out of town. Next thing she was running at me, telling me to lay that hammer down.
What the hell's going on? What are you doing? What are you doing with that gun?
Cause there's a man right behind me doing his best to slow me down.
Hey, you can't do that! Hey!
Yeah, and it's a long way to Richmond, rolling north on 95.
Tell you what, I can do you one better. You want to go old school? It's Jerry Lee Lewis playing some country.
The news is out all over town. Girl, you've been seen.
There you go, man. There you go. You made me put on a guy that married his cousin, who was 14, whilst being married to his second wife. But we got it. We got through it. All right, let's get this thing started here. What do you say? What's the right button?
Woke up this morning, got yourself a gun. Your mama always said you'd be the chosen one. She said, 1 in a million, you got to burn the shine. You were born under a bad sun, with a blue moon in your eye. And you woke up this morning, all that love and gun. Your papa never told you about right and wrong. But you're looking good, baby. I believe that you're feeling fine. Shake my body, born under a bad sun, with a blue moon in your eyes. Just say me now. Woke up this morning, got a blue moon in your eyes. Listen, you woke up this morning, the world turned upside down. Load of other things ain't been insane since the blues walked in our town. But you want it, and you got that shotgun shine, shake my body, born in the bad sun, with a blue moon in your eyes.
What's going on, everyone? It's your boy WreckTalk here, giving you an update on the Edge Center. Now, I'm not a construction expert, but stuff is going on. They put that thingy, kind of connected it to that thingy. They have a big crane. Of course, there's 50 of those in downtown Atlanta, but I think it was, it's $175 million. Do something. Why does it take so long? Now, I do think the stadium renovations runs through 2027. But yeah, look, they got some beams out there. They got some stuff. Georgia Tech PD. They're laughing, giggling, having a good time out here. So, yeah. All right, what is going on, everyone? Welcome to WreckTalk. Hope y'all having a great time. We got Montega in the back room here. We'll run through the chat quickly. I hope you liked the new intro. I just so happen to have to be downtown today off Moreland Avenue, which is a pretty terrifying experience if you've ever been in that area. But here we go. Rambling on with Zach Jones says, yo, what's up, Reck? What's going on? Bryce says, let's go. Been a minute. What's up, Reck? It has been a minute. It has been a minute. I should do what Kelly does and just make a bunch of excuses. A doctor's office, tired, don't want to get up. No, I just wasn't on. That's what it was. That's what men do. That's what men do. They take responsibility. As always, and John pays a heavy price for this. YouTube gets mad at him for saying this. Remember, winning ain't free. Send a check, even if it's only $100. We need 40,000 fans sending a check every quarter. That would be $16 million annually. And the math checks out on that. Todd Smith says, Reck, you made it back from the Amazon jungles. Yes, like Kermit, who was Teddy Roosevelt's nephew, I think, that ended up dying in the Amazon. So I did better than him. There's some random trivia for you. Looking forward to tonight's show. Good to see you, Power Tech. Stan Garner, it's been so long. It has. David, do you think Tech being plus 1,500 to win the ACC championship is fair? I don't know. I said in the chat, unless I knew what other teams were. It sounds like those are pretty respectful odds for Tech, though. Tell us what Collins is doing. I don't know. Trying on dresses somewhere. I have no idea what he's doing. He's a loser that no one should respect. Speaking of losers, I've got a picture back here. In fact, I'll wait until Montega comes on. He needs to see that. He needs to see that. Anyways, let's just go ahead and bring Montega on. Let's switch screens here to my guest screen, and it's not working. So give me 1 second here to fix this, and I will get you on track. On track. There you are. What's going on, man? Welcome to the show. How are you, sir?
How we doing?
I'm doing fantastic now that you're here, because I've got a ton of respect for what you guys do on Afterswarm. Now, before we get into that, I don't know if you see, I got a little picture. Got a little picture up here. See what that says. Zoom in on that. Who is that? Who is that? That's old Kelly Q. It says, literally posting from my doctor's office. Too confident or too confirmed that I have no idea what I'm doing. Too close to the information. Too close. You're cutting in and out on us a little bit here.
You know, man, you give the guys props. Am I?
No, now you're good. Now you're good. I think you were kind of taking the high road there, which you should. It's not something that I'm capable of, especially with this gentleman. But anyways, we'll move on. Guys, this is Montega Harrison with Afterswarm. Also, if you didn't know, to do my own shameless shilling, there's WreckTalk merch. If you look below this video, we got new merch store. We got hoodies. We got long sleeve shirts. We got sweatshirts. We got trucker hats. So definitely go check those out. But briefly, tell people what I talk a lot about it, what Afterswarm's about, what you do, what you offer, why people should sign up.
Yeah. Yeah. Afterswarm is really going, man. We're doing well. I think just to start off by saying, getting people to understand, hey, we're not Coca-Cola. We're not Delta. We're not going to get all these guys to donate millions of dollars and everything like that. We're just Georgia Tech fans who are passionate about our team and our school and trying to do everything we can to help. Now, hey, we've been up and running for not even 2 whole months. We have 50 current paid subscribers. We've been able to donate over $1,000 to the NIL, to the Tech Way, to date. And I think that's a big deal. We offer a forum. We finally got our forum up and running, and it's just a place where we get to talk, Georgia Tech, where, you talk Georgia Tech football, Georgia Tech basketball, baseball, whatever it is. And it's growing. We got a lot of members. A lot of people are interested in it. And it's been a blast to do it. So it started out as a joke. And I know we've talked about that before. but like we made it a reality, and we're loving it. It's been a blast.
That's awesome, man. So if you guys missed that, I mean, they don't make a dime from this, unlike me. I pocket all the money I make off YouTube. They donate it to the Techway NIL fund. So if nothing else, at least you're basically directly donating to Georgia Tech. I put the forum on the screen there. I'll do it. I'll do it one time here while I'm talking about it. But this is the forum. And guys, they do break information in here. So I'm not going to pull up all the threads because I'm not going to expose all their insider information on my show. But they were the only ones, to my knowledge, that even mentioned Blake Gideon before he was hired. All right, you can go in. You don't have to take my word for that. You can subscribe and look at the date that they posted that name. And I haven't seen a miss on a lot of stuff, really on anything.
And I'll say, man, we're not really interested in the whole in getting into the battling and who's right and who's wrong and everything like that. We all know the Georgia Tech media space can be kind of garbage sometimes. We're just fans who are passionate. It's a $10 a month subscription. You hold back 2 Starbucks drinks a month, and you're able to donate to the Techway indirectly. And like you said, we don't take any money from it. The only money that we do take from it, honestly, is we donate. Right now, we've committed to donate $250 a month. That's the membership tier that we're in with the Techway right now. Our goal is to be able to hold some of that money back that we get per month to be able to help us to kind of secure player interviews and kind of do some different things within the NIL space. We're looking to get into YouTube. And so I'm, kind of working behind the scenes to build out a channel and get things up and running. But I'm kind of a perfectionist. Like I want to make sure things are right and we're doing things up to a certain standard of quality that we like. But for example, we've already secured an interview with Tay Harris. He's already agreed to come on and interview him and talk and everything like that. So I just want to make sure we're set and we can do it and it look good and not look half-assed or anything like that. So we're pumped, man. It's been a blast.
That's exciting, man. Yeah, look, I don't speak on behalf of Afterswarm. I can only speak as a fan, and I see people talking about it in the chat. And there is a need for what you provide. There's a need for what you provide, and I think you're fulfilling that. And like you said, the membership is fairly cheap. I've been a subscriber, and I feel very happy with what I'm getting for my money from the forum and the Substack. So there's a lot that's gone on, and admittedly, I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball with a lot of the news with Tech. First and foremost, there's been a major staff shakeup. We've lost a DC. We've hired a new DC from Texas and Blake Gideon. We've hired a new linebackers coach. Aaron Joe is at Texas. We have Alex Mathis. So could you kind of run us through? Well, first, let's just take things one at a time. One at a time, Rec. All right? Don't overwhelm people. Let's talk about Blake Gideon, a guy was the safeties coach or defensive backs coach at Texas, a guy that hasn't called plays, but from everything I see on the Texas side of things, they're pretty heartbroken that they lost this guy. What can you tell us about Blake Gideon?
Yeah, I think what we're going to get, obviously, we're going to lose some of the experience calling plays and everything like that we had in Tyler Santucci. But I think what we're going to gain in Blake Gideon is something that we've been missing. And I know for me, something I've been wanting to see is just some more talent and consistency on that back end of our defense. I think the last time I came on, you remember we kind of graded kind of the defense and where we thought they'd be. And I think I said, in order for us to be competitive and win some games, hey, the backside of that defense is going to have to play. They're going to have to step up. I think they did when they needed to. We were able to make the plays that we needed to make, but overall, pretty lackluster performance, this past season from the safeties and from the cornerbacks.
I think it was consistency. We could pull off a game like Miami, but then you have a game like Syracuse where you just can't get off the field. So we couldn't put it together for 2 or 3 games in a row.
It was a little frustrating to see, especially the talent that we have,
Yes.
in that back room. It's not like those guys are bums. Like we had, LaMiles Brooks was, a couple seasons ago was an all American or all ACC preseason kind of nod there. Got some honors, and so as well as Tay Seymour. You see him come along throughout the season. Omar Daniels comes along. Amari Harvey on the outside. Warren Burrell. Like we have the talent. Just whatever it was, the coaching on that that side of the ball just kind of left a lot to be desired. But
Who
I
was
think
coaching that side of the ball? Was that Ricky Brumfield?
I think
And-
Ricky Brumfield was cornerbacks, and then Corey Peoples was safeties. So I think Corey Peoples, that probably, or Brumfield, I think that probably
Cut out on us. See if we can get him back. Does Afterswarm Gorge go to
plays
you? Cut out on us. You're still kind of cutting
into it a
out.
little bit. I think we see it
As much as I hate
you
it,
can't tell.
I think maybe if you
I can
cut
try to
if you cut your camera off, like I know that's not ideal, but that might we can hear you.
let's try that. See if that works a little bit better.
But go ahead,
But
yeah.
I think Blake Gideon, I think we're going to get somebody who is going to be a solid recruiter on that side of the ball. I think the lack of calling plays is I think it's a little overplayed. You remember when Tyler Santucci came on from Duke with Mike Elko. There were some kind of rumblings of like, hey, who's actually calling that defense? Is it him? Is Elko really calling and pulling the strings?
Right.
You had Jeff Simpson on that staff before in the past. Like, who's really the one calling the plays and everything like that? So I'm not too worried about him not having experience in that realm. I think what's really going to help more so, off the top is just getting talent, and I think he's going to be able to do that.
For sure, real quick, let me read. We got a $10 super chat from John Burns. Says, some of us old guys like 70s rock and roll. Never been a big fan of country music. The hell with Georgia, beat Colorado. Yeah, I guess I kind of profiled you there. I apologize. I just thought, well, country, like Jerry Lee Lewis. Joel asked, does Afterswarm go towards NIL? So I don't know how the Tech Way is structured. I don't know if 100% of that goes to NIL. I would venture to say it doesn't, because I'm sure they have some operating costs that they cover, but it goes toward doing good for Georgia Tech. That I can say. It goes toward the sports programs.
Yeah, we can directly donate to a certain sport. So we directly, at this point, we directly donate to Georgia Tech football. What they do with that money when they get it, I'm not sure. But yeah, we don't keep really any of it outside of trying to make the site better and make improvements.
Yeah, and I mean that's more than you're going to get from literally anyone else, in this space. Like, I'm not really in that space, but I don't operate that way. I won't name names, but no one else operates that way either. And really, I mean, this is just fans. This is a group of fans that, like Montega said, we're kind of joking around like, hey, we should do this, and then they ended up doing it. They did what a lot of us talk about when we're drunk at a bar and never end up doing. So, yeah, it is good to hear. So, yeah, I was one of those that had kind of brought that up with Tyler Santucci, and look, he ended up working out fantastically for us. I think the biggest thing that I like with Blake Gideon is you're not going to be on staff at Texas if you're not a very good recruiter.
Yeah, for sure.
And that is something that we need. And look, I was worried we might lose the elite secondary talent we have in this class with Tay Harris and Dalen Pinson. So I think it could be scary to see what he's able to do with who we already like. Clayton Powell-Lee is a player, and then the guys you have coming in, we could be very, very good in the secondary. So let's talk about Aaron Joe, because I think this is kind of surprising, and I'm out of the loop. I'm not really sure what happened with this, but Aaron Joe, we just saw on Twitter that he's taking a job with Texas, and Alex Mathis from Central Florida is coming in. So,
yeah,
kind of what happened with that and what are we getting with Alex Mathis? Like, what can you speak to that?
Man, I think that was probably one of the moves. I think people know, especially people that have been Tech fans for a while. They know Aaron Joe. They know what he brings to the table. I think there are some guys on our team right now that I don't want to say wouldn't be here without Aaron Joe, but I know he had a really big part to play in their recruitment and getting them on campus. But I think what we're getting in Alex Mathis is I think you're seeing Brent Keys do what he said that he was going to do, and that is look to improve in any way possible, no matter what. And I think Alex Mathis is a huge improvement over Aaron Joe. I think we're excited to get him. He's got a ton of relationship in the Georgia recruiting space. Obviously, you're working with several high schools. He was a pretty big deal at UCF, trying to recruit Georgia was part of their big deal of getting him on their staff there. Like here in Georgia, obviously, even though I live in Longhorn country at the moment, but there's a ton of talent in Georgia, and everybody's trying to come and get them. And
Yeah.
so I think having Alex Mathis on staff is going to be a really, really big deal. And I think we'll see a pretty decent uptick in our recruiting. Not only our recruiting overall, but our in-state recruiting, I think will take a massive step forward.
So that's exciting. One thing I'll say is as fans, and this isn't just a Georgia Tech thing, they generally like to have, like, if you're a Florida fan, you like to have a Florida grad on staff or something or whoever. And, Tech fans generally like to have Tech people on staff. That doesn't really matter to me. I want to win. The only time that matters to me is for retention and kind of how things have gone at Tech. Like when we have a good head coach, he tends to be poached off or coordinator or whatever. I just think that's less likely with Key being a guy from here. And that's the only time that, like, I want to win. I want to get better and I want to win. And the good news is it sounds like Key, well, it doesn't just sound like, we've seen it. Like he demoted Thacker pretty quick, put Scherer in. They were both gone. He's wiped the whole defensive staff. So he has shown that he is going to do whatever he thinks is required to win. And at the end of the day, that's really all that matters in football. Oh, crap. I just broke my chair. Anyways, so that's good. The exciting part of that is you look at what Key's done with the staff he has, like getting Christian Garrett, recruiting the same kids that the University of Georgia is recruiting hasn't happened until Key took over. And then if you're telling me we're adding 2 guys in here that are potentially elite level recruiters, special things could happen.
I agree. I mean, look at the class you got. Look at who we fought off. Now, I think some people might have different opinions when it comes to, like, were these guys actually able to commit there, and the whole non-committable and committable offer deal. But, like, Christian Garrett was committed to Georgia, decommitted, and we added him to the class a couple weeks later. You got Dalen Pinson. USC made a really strong push there towards the end. We were still able to grab him and get him in the class. You got Josh Petty, who's taken last minute visits to FSU. Ohio State came in late and dropped a bag, and we're still able to get him. Tay Harris, we're able to get him away from Clemson and add him to the class. I think what you said is exactly right. Like, not only are we winning in-state guys, but we're winning in-state guys from pretty premier programs.
Blue Bloods.
That just to be complete honestly, like, that just hasn't happened. Like, we haven't been able to pull that off, except for, we might pluck, 1 or 2 away every few years, but to see us do it, essentially back-to-back years is a pretty big deal. So to add some pretty heavy hitter recruiters onto the staff is going to be a really big deal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So yeah, I see he's from Ware County, Waycross. I believe Aaron Joe was the general manager, and admittedly, like, because college football is changing so much, I don't exactly know what all these guys do, and there's positions now added that didn't necessarily exist before.
Yeah.
I think Mathis was the director of recruiting where he was. So what role is he gonna fill at Tech? I guess he's replacing Aaron Joe.
Yeah, I think he is going to be he's going to be the GM, but I think he's going to have a little bit more, a little bigger hand in the recruiting as well. So kind of help get some inroads into some of these programs that we really haven't had as much luck in. Hopefully, to kind of bolster that recruiting, especially in the southeast. I think having that those connections to the southeast, kind of hitting the Georgia Florida border. He went to Georgia Southern, so he's got some connections down there. Orlando's not that far away from the border, so
No.
he's worked that area well. So I think it's going to be a big deal to have him there just for that South. I know Coach Key really wanted to focus on the southeast, southwest of Georgia, and so I think having Alex Mathis on staff is really going to help him achieve that.
Yeah, and Central Florida, is it Central Florida? Yeah, they've recruited pretty well. Like we went hard after, was it Kylan Fox? They ended up getting him. I don't know how much Mathis was involved with that. I'm sure he was on some level. Just to go through the chat real quick. Now, Motivated Dedicated is a Georgia fan, but he says that Colorado fans just told me they're going to beat Tech in Boulder. They're not even worried about Tech at all. Well, look, if people want to willingly be delusional, they can do that. Motivated Dedicated even says, like, I'm a Georgia fan and I'm worried about Tech. Tech tends to play up to good talent and then struggle against teams they shouldn't struggle with. But if Colorado's not worried, I hope that's their attitude, honestly. Now, in Dennis says, just joined Afterswarm site as a subscriber. Question, after upgrading to paid subscription, how long does it take until I can properly see the forums? I think you should be able to see that immediately, or that was my experience.
Yep. We are still working through some of the automations on the back end of the site. And so right now, every time we add a new subscriber, I have to manually go in and give them the right permissions. So you should be good now. You should be able to see everything. So take a look and let us know what you think.
Well, there you go. All right. So Gideon was initially listed as DC linebackers coach on the Tech website.
Yeah.
But I guess that's not the case because we've hired Darius Eubanks. So I guess he's coming as the linebackers coach, and I have some notes on him. He played at Georgia Southern from 09 to 12. He's a 4-year starter, 260 tackles, 12.5 tackles for loss. Had a 3-year NFL career. Didn't really see the field that much, or I don't think he had minimal stats, so I don't think he really played. But has been through the coaching ranks at Arkansas. He was a GA. Sanford, he coached safeties. He was defensive backs coach for Sanford in 2020. Georgia State in 2021, he was the safeties coach. 22 in Liberty, he coached defensive backs. And then he's been at Georgia Southern ever since as a safeties and nickels coach. I don't admittedly know anything about Darius Eubanks. What can you tell us about him?
Man, to be honest, I don't know a ton about him either. He is. I'll say that's one call that we got wrong. We were pretty firm on Gideon being the linebackers coach, and put that on the forum and like, hey man, sometimes in this space you're wrong. You don't get every scoop right or anything like that. But I think just from what I've been able to read up on him, I think we're he's a young up and coming coach. I think we'll see some solid development. I think Georgia Southern I want to say they had an All-American linebacker on their roster the last couple of years that I think transferred out this year.
And all conference guys. I think 2 all conference guys.
Yeah. I think that's what all conference more than All-American. But I think there's going to be some development there that's gonna take place, which I think has been needed. Kyle Eford has been really has been really holding down the linebacker room purely off effort, with no pun intended. Like I don't think anybody in our fan base would tell you they think Kyle Efer is the most talented linebacker in the country, but the dude has a motor unlike anybody that we've seen on the flats in a while.
He
So
might be the toughest though.
yeah, for sure. He's a dog. He's a dog for sure. And
Yeah.
so you get that plus some solid development. I think he'll be really good. I mean, he's been in the program for 3 years now, and this will be his fourth linebacker coach since he's been on campus. And so, obviously that plays a big deal into your development as a player. If you have different coaches who have different philosophies and different technique and everything like that, it's really kind of hard to find your footing. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's better though. Like, I'm happy that it went that way, just because to my knowledge, Gideon has never coached that position group before. So seems more ideal that you'd bring in someone that is more specialized in that, and then Gideon can take a heavier hand in the defensive back room. Also with Eford, it's just a breath of fresh air to see a guy that can meet a back in the hole and drop them right there or push them back. I haven't seen a guy do that at Tech, linebacker wise, probably since Fox and Wheeler. Some names that come to mind. It's before Paul. I know that it was before Paul Johnson was there. So yeah, that's good. Now we also, well, let me back up because I'm unclear on this too. There's a ton of different like new rules that have come out in college football. Is it the case now that you can have as many on the field coaches as you'd like, or what is that?
Yeah, the rule is you can have unlimited on-field coaches, but your on the road recruiting coaches is still limited.
So on game day, you can have as many coaches on the sideline as you choose.
That's what it seems like, which seems a little wild. And I think, I don't think any team's going to come out and say, all right, we got 50 coaches that are on the sideline. I don't think it's anything that crazy, but yeah, it seems like you can have as many on-field coaches as you want, but you're still going to be limited on the recruiting side, which I think is good. At least they're putting some sort of limitation on the recruiting and everything like that.
For sure. So with that in mind, we do bring on, I mean, this is kind of old news, but we bring on 4 new coaches. Kobe Jones from Alabama, for cornerbacks. I don't think either one of us, I don't want to speak for you, probably know a ton about him. I just know he was on staff there as an assistant, and I like to get someone from Alabama. Is there anything more about him than me? I'm going to assume not. I don't know if you cut out or not. Yeah, he is a young kid. Go ahead.
Yeah, yeah, he's super. You can tell by the pictures. He just looks super, super young. But I think what we are going to get from what I've been able to read up on and kind of see, I think we're going to have a really solid recruiter in the cornerback room.
It's good.
He's still in his 20s, I believe. I think he's 20. I want to say he's 26, 27. So he's still young enough to be able to connect with those guys on a kind of different level than other coaches will be. So I think that'll be a big piece into how we recruit cornerbacks. But I think we are going to see. I think we're going to see some solid recruiting with Kobe Jones. I think that was a really exciting hire that we were able to pull off.
Good to hear. Now, one that makes me happy, just because I had called out Kennesaw State, because I do think that they absolutely screwed this guy. And I don't even think that that's really arguable when you look at the money Kennesaw State is investing in their football program and what they were expecting, especially stepping up from whatever Division III to whatever. But we do bring on Brian Bohannon, former head coach at Kennesaw State. And I do think now, obviously, he's a triple option guy. He's a Paul Johnson disciple. But I do think it is interesting to see what him and Buster Faulkner can cook up in that run option game with Haynes King, Jamal Haynes, and then the other guys we have in that backfield. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I I think I will say I think the Bohannon hire uh, was a little bit of a insurance policy from Brent Key, to be completely honest.
On losing
Buster,
ROC, you mean?
yeah, Buster Faulkner and Brian Bohannon run a pretty, they're run a pretty consistent offense that is really similar to each other. I don't think we lose Buster Faulkner before the 2025 season. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
But I think all fans see the writing on the wall that 2025 very well could be the last season that we have him.
Is
So to
that
have
the end of his contract? Or it just his buyout steps down, I think.
his buyout steps down, but I think he signed a 2-year extension at the end of last season.
Okay.
So I think that would be the end of his contract. I mean, I don't see a reason why he wouldn't resign if nothing were to pan out on the head coach front. I mean, it's pretty evident that he wants to be a head coach. But I think having Bohannon on staff is just another set of eyes that can run an offense and knows what he's doing, that can help kind of see things that the Buster Faulkner might miss. So I think it was a smart hire by Key. I mean, we've 2 off seasons of having Buster Faulkner, and he's been mentioned for head coaching jobs both off seasons. So I think it'd be kind of dumb to assume that we're not going to lose him. We're going to lock him down.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest fear probably Tech fans have right now. Because look, he's been tied to a lot of different positions. Like off the top of my head, I want to say Middle Tennessee State like 2 years ago, Southern Miss, Oklahoma. And I think it is impressive that Tech has been able to retain him. He's the highest paid coordinator Tech has ever had. I believe he's set, and you might know more than me, he's set to make $1.1 or $1.2 million this year.
Yeah, I think he's at 1.2. One thing to note that is interesting though is his son Harrison, I believe, is going to be a senior this next school year. So I think that plays into us keeping him for a while longer, in my opinion.
Is he at Prince?
Say it again.
Is he at Prince Avenue? Or no, he's at North Oconee, I believe.
Yeah, North Oconee. He's a quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see where he goes from there. To my knowledge, Tech has not offered him. I'm not sure if we will. Just looking at our quarterback room right now and kind of the type of quarterbacks that we've been recruiting that Chris Winkie likes. So it'll be interesting to see if we get him. But I think that plays into our hand a little bit better to us keeping him.
Maybe we could parlay, be like, hey, we'll give him a scholarship. You give us another 2 years.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You never know. I doubt he does that, to be honest, but you never know.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Also, we hire Mike Polley. He's going to be an assistant on the offensive line, which is interesting because he's coming from Middle Tennessee State and he's coached Keelan Rutledge before. Yep. So that's kind of a nice addition, as well as a guy that really doesn't have any experience that I can see. Maybe he's been a GA, quality control on the offensive line, Emil Ekiyor Jr., who I believe won a national title with Key at Alabama as a player. So some interesting additions. Anything you wanted to say about those guys?
No, I mean, I think it's just I think we talk about depth on the roster as far as players go, but I think depth in the on the coaching staff is just as important. You don't want to be too top heavy where your coordinators are solid and they're great coaches, but then your assistants under them are subpar or not where they're supposed to be. So remember, we lost our the guy that I can't say his name. You just said it amazingly. The guy from Alabama. We lost our
Emil Ekiyor or Kobe Jones.
I have his name.
Cutting out on us again.
I think that is the of course, man. It's kind of the replacement that you see there. So
no, all good. Well, let's pivot. So we've talked kind of through the staff here. We're not really going to know until we get in the season. Something I'm super disconnected from is what's going on in the portal. Now, I do think they've made a change where they're going to have one portal window moving forward, or am I wrong on that?
Oh, that's a great question. I just don't think it'll happen just with the way that the college classes and your drop ad date.
I think we lost him a little bit. Yeah, it doesn't look like that's been
I do remember
instituted
seeing an
yet.
article about them. Uh,
You here with us?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I don't think that's been instituted yet, but we are going to have another portal window after the spring game. I would imagine you're going to gain some kids in that portal window and you're going to lose some kids in that portal window. So, what beat do you have on what we have going on in the portal right now? Is there anyone we've brought in you'd like to talk about? Anyone we should be excited about, or anyone you're afraid of losing?
I think anybody on the defensive side that we've brought in, we should be excited about. I think Melvin Jordan is going to be a big add. I think Malachi Hosley, running back from Penn, is going to be a huge,
Yes,
huge add to be that 1-2 punch for Jamal Haynes. One thing that I've said, I've said it on the forum. You kind of did a preview of the running back room, kind of what I expect the depth chart to look like going into spring ball. Is I have Jamal Haynes at RB1, obviously. Um, and this is kind of might be a hot take, but this is kind of what I think going into spring ball. I want to preface it is going into spring ball. I think Chad Alexander is going to be our backup going into spring ball.
wow.
I think Malachi Hosley will end up being running back 3 going into spring ball. I do think Hosley ends up beating out Chad Alexander for that backup running back spot. But I think you got to give the leg up to Chad. He's been in the offense for several years. He knows the offense. He knows the protections. He knows the playbook. So I don't think Key is going to bring anybody in and just go ahead and hand them a spot. Like they're going to have to earn it. So that's kind of
For
my
sure.
thinking for there. But then here's also what I said. I think we put Tremaine Maddox and Anthony Carey at the 4th spot in the running back room. And depending on how these freshmen pan out, and Shane Marshall or JP Powell, um, I don't think it's outside the realm of possibility that we see Tremaine Maddox or Anthony Carey transfer out after spring.
Yeah,
Um, I don't. I'm not like talking to anybody that's bringing that up or saying that it's going to for sure happen. It's just something that wouldn't surprise me. You think Anthony Carey was 4-star running back coming out of Florida, and one of his goals that he said was he wanted to be a freshman All-American. Had some ball security issues um, in the fall at that point, or in the spring when he came in.
yep,
Didn't really do a good job. He got some game time, but didn't really play a ton. Had some really good runs throughout the season when he did get some touches, but snaps were limited. So obviously, probably not how he expected his freshman season to go. Then you got Tremaine Maddox, who spent most of the season kind of rehabbing from that torn ACL.
right.
Got some touches in the VMI game, looked really, really good in the VMI game. And that's really all we saw. Saw him for a couple snaps in the Louisville game, and then ended up hurting his foot, I believe. And then, didn't see him get any snaps after that. So I think between those two guys, once spring ball kind of pans out, we see what the depth chart looks like. It wouldn't surprise me to see one of them decide to hit the portal.
Yeah, just looking at the numbers, you would think someone's going to transfer out. Probably two. If I had to guess, I'd say we have 2 running backs transfer out after the spring. And it is surprising to hear, kind of you saying Chad Alexander at 2, but then at the same time, it's not. When you look at that guy taking advantage of the opportunities he's gotten us in games, like he's gutted out on sheer will 3rd down
Yeah.
conversions for us. Miami comes to mind. He had a pretty good game against Miami. Now, I think, kind of like you're saying, Malachi Hosley probably, I don't know if by game 1 or midseason, like he'll probably gut out just on sheer talent, that 2 spot. But we got some depth in the running back room that I like. So it'll be interesting to see. So we have lost 2 guys on the offensive line, I believe Weston Franklin and Jordan Williams, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Who do we have? Who's going to play center? Who's going to play that tackle position? One of those seems more clear to me than the other.
That is a great question. I am not a O-line guy. I don't know a ton about offensive line, to be completely honest. But I think it's exciting to see us have 2 guys that we could see get drafted here this season. I think that's a big deal off that offensive line. I think Brent Key and Jeep Wade have done an amazing job of kind of flipping that offensive line where it was a huge weakness with the last coaching staff and has been probably one of our biggest strengths with this coaching staff. But I do think I would expect Harrison Moore to step into that center spot. He played a couple snaps there. I think they're cross training everybody on the offensive line anyway. But I think Harrison Moore is a clear cut favorite to take that role once spring ball opens up.
Makes sense. Give me 1 second here. Let me look it up. These Russian stats. Haynes King not good for enough to beat Georgia or play for Georgia. Threw for 303 yards against you. 2 touchdowns, ran for 110 yards. Carried your sorry ass defense literally on his shoulders for first downs and ran for 3 touchdowns. So we'll just leave that there. Obviously WT is a mentally deficient person, but just so he knows that. I would think you're going to see Jamison Riggs probably step up. I know, since Petty's so highly recruited, there's going to be people talking about him possibly starting day 1. My take is just, I don't know if he can put on that much weight that quickly. I know I think he's put on a good deal of weight. I just don't know if he's going to be game ready game 1. What do you think?
No, I don't think he's going to be game ready at all. I'd be surprised to see him at all in the front half of the season. That's just kind of my opinion. I think your assessment with Jamison Riggs is pretty decent and spot on. I also think Ethan McKinney could step in and take
started before, yeah, for
challenge. Sure. He's a freshman All-American and then redshirted this past season. So I think we have. It's a great problem to have. We're thinking who's gonna step up and take this spot. The offensive line is such an important position, and so we gotta make sure we have the people in place to kind of step in when we lose people. I do think Petty is going to play. I have heard on pretty good authority that he has put on a pretty decent amount of weight already.
Yep.
He's only been on campus for a month. So I think that's huge. Getting him in a college strength and conditioning program, college nutrition program, I think it's going to pay dividends for him. And also look at Harrison Moore. If you would go back and look at Harrison Moore's commitment post that he made, Harrison Moore and Josh Petty had pretty similar builds coming out of high school. And we see Harrison Moore turn into a freaking beast right in front of our eyes this season. So I think he plays. Him starting, I think that's a pipe dream.
Yeah, and I think I should reach out to Georgia Tech because if they need to put weight on people, I have a personal program that's worked great for me. I think they could implement, just eat, 2,000 to 3,000 calories at like 11:30 at night, and that's a pretty good plan. Eat a ton of sugar, eat a ton of carbs, refuse to exercise or move your body very much, and I guarantee you will put on considerable amount of weight. All right, I'm just thinking through the roster. Well, let's pivot again. Let's talk about recruiting. So there's different ratings on different classes. I think, is it Rivals has us at 21?
Yes.
Which is a pretty big deal for Tech.
What can you talk about? Like, who are you most excited coming into this class? I feel like I know, but who are you most excited coming in this 2025 class?
Oh, man, there's honestly so many people to kind of highlight. I think one guy that I'm excited about that I think is going to be great is Tay Harris.
Yep.
I think Tay Harris is somebody who is a day one recruit or a day one starter for us. I think he's just got he's got the speed, he's got the strength, he hits. Like, I think he's going to be a really solid ad. Also, Dalen Pinson, I think, is another one that could have some pretty solid impact day one. But I think one guy that I am probably most excited about that's kind of under the radar is probably God, who am I thinking about? I just had his name, Jordan Allen from Buford. I think Jordan Allen,
wide receiver, right?
Yes, he is a wide receiver, 5'8", 170, has burner type speed. I think Jordan Allen's going to be a really, really solid add to that wide receiver room, especially after losing Eric Singleton. But I think he's going to be really, really good. I'm excited to see him. I'm excited to see him run. He's got track speed, so I'm excited to see what that looks like.
Do you know what it is? Like, what his speed is? Are we talking like 4.4 flat, 4.38?
I don't know. I don't know what his
what his 40 or 100 meter is. Yeah, I am trying to. You guys know that I'm, a sucker for bait in the chat of getting me pissed off.
He ran a 10.9.
10.9. Okay, wow. Yeah, so that's really good speed from, I know in your chat, I believe I'd seen, he's very much like Malik Rutherford, except he's probably more athletic than Malik Rutherford, truth be told. So yeah, he's exciting.
I honestly think I would say that is a great comparison. I would say if you take Malik Rutherford's body type and give him Eric Singleton's speed, I think you have Jordan Allen. I think that's kind of a really good comparison of who he's like.
Motivated, dedicated. This is going to make me look bad, but Harrison Bucker. Yeah. All right. So yeah, number one Tech player that played in a Super Bowl. He's played in a lot of them. He's got to be in the all-time points of points scored in a Super Bowl by this point.
Yeah. Don't forget EJ Jenkins won a Super Bowl with the Eagles as well. So
he did. I hated that because their whole defense, though, is also Georgia players, but it is what it is. Yeah, kicker. I'll be honest. I'll give you the truth. All right? You can't handle the truth. So Tay Harris is super exciting. Tay Harris is a guy we flipped from Clemson. Tay Harris is a guy a lot of people wanted. The flip of Tay Harris might have changed Dabo's mind on how he's going to do portal and recruiting. Just cards on the table. He's listed at 5'10", 200, which is a solid guy. And I believe he's listed at a 4.4 flat 40. Like, this guy is also stupid fast. Would not surprise me at all to see him in the starting rotation game one. Christian Garrett's an interesting guy as well, a guy we flipped from Georgia, surprisingly enough, out of Prince Avenue. Guy a lot of people wanted. And that is probably the position group that is the biggest need for Tech. I don't know how you view it, but the defensive line, we've lost a lot, this year at the defensive line. It's usually the position group we struggle with the most on defense. So I don't know. I mean, maybe you know better than me. I don't know if he's a game one starter. My intuition says no. But what do you think?
Well, I mean, I think he could be. I think he has potential to be, just because who else is going to start?
Yeah, that's true. We just don't have the numbers. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure that'll be our biggest need in the portal in the second window.
Yeah, I think. I like our defensive line class. Like, I think Derry Norris is a really sneaky good ad. Andre Fuller is another really sneaky good ad from Grayson.
Yep.
Blake Bellin was one we got up from New York. I think will be a really, really good ad. Carrington Coombs from
Decula, I think, is going to be a really good add. I think the defensive line recruiting that we have, I think they're going to be great. What is going to really matter and really where we'll see the impact is going to be in the transfers. We got AJ Hoffler from Clemson, and we got Braden Manley from Mercer. Both of those guys are edge rushers, and then Matthew Alexander from UCF were the defensive line transfer. So I think you gotta look to those guys and say, hey, we don't necessarily need like immediate production in the sense of like, hey, we need you to go be a Keon White or a Romello Height, but hey, we need some production. We need to find a way to get after the quarterback. So I think the transfers will be the key to what our defensive line looks like. But I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these guys that come in as freshmen get significant playing time.
For sure. Yeah. So, as we kind of wind down the show here, I'm going to put it on the screen, and I might get you like flamed in your own chat that we're both in. But I want to go through the Georgia Tech schedule here. So let me flip screens, and I just want to get your take on kind of, maybe a way too early schedule prediction here. So I do predict we'll win the white and gold spring game. I think we'll do well there. But look, there's a ton of great game one games. Now, whether you're a fan of Georgia Tech or not, if you have two brain cells to rub together, you're going to know that Georgia Tech at Colorado is a big game. It's an exciting game. It's going to be a well-watched game. And this is now 2 years in a row that Tech is on a national stage here out in game one. What do you think about going to the Colorado Deion Sanders's game one?
It'll be an interesting game. I will actually be making the trip for that game, so I'll be pretty pumped to see them.
Oh, nice.
Play in Boulder. But I think it'll be really interesting. I think Colorado, despite what people might think, I think Colorado will be a pretty big unknown. Because you think, dude, that 80%, I would obviously not realistically, but a huge part of their offense was Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter. And both of those guys are gone. So it'll be interesting to see where they turn to. Yeah, they got
Juju Lewis.
Juju Lewis from
Carrollton.
But I think I'd expect Caden Salter to be the starter from Liberty. So it'll be interesting to see how they play, what they do. Colorado's run game was abysmal last year, and our defensive run game was pretty solid, especially the way that it has been in the last few years. So that bodes well. And then I think with new quarterback, they lost a lot on the offensive side. They lost a pretty decent amount on the defensive side. Again, they're bringing in like record numbered transfers in their transfer portal. So it's, it'll be interesting to see. I do think we win that game. To be honest, I do think
there we go
come away with a win, but they're probably the hardest team to project on our schedule because they lost so much of their actual offensive production and they're adding so much in the portal. It's just kind of hard to project.
I'm going to flip me up on the screen here because I absolutely agree with you. All right. And motivated, dedicated, you can go tell those Johnny come lately Colorado fans up there in Boulder that aren't Colorado fans. They're a fan of the guy that's coaching them. All right. They're worried about social media handles, Twitter handles on their jerseys. They're worried about the jewelry they wear and then getting stolen after the game and then making an insurance claim on it. They're worried about all the wrong things, the glitz, the glamour, how they look. This team right here, all right, we got a kid that had his tooth knocked out at practice, put it in his pocket, and went and did the next play. This is a team that's tough. This is a team that don't care about how they look. This is a team that will run it down your throat. They will stomp a mud hole in your ass, and then they will stomp it dry. And that's what's going to happen game one in Boulder. All right. So pretty good transition into Garner Webb. What do you think about Garner Webb?
Clearly, if I'm never going to be on the fire Brent Key train, but if we lose to Gardner Webb, I'm probably going to hop on the fire Brent Key train. Gone
Yeah.
are the days that we're losing to the Gardner Webbs. I know Bowling Green is a game I try to wipe from my memory. I think those days are gone. I think we saw that with the way that we played against Georgia State. You know, a lot of people call that game a trap game. Coming off the emotional high energy win against Florida State and Ireland, short practice week, right back into the next game. And we're saying, oh, this is perfect makings of a trap game. And I think we ran a pretty vanilla offense, and we're still able to win by almost 30. So I think those days are over. So obviously, not really worried about Gardner Webb.
Yeah, not worried. Now, they did give us a scare when Paul was here. Now, friend of the channel and former ACC champion, Joe Gilbert, was on the roster for that game. And look, Georgia Tech likes to play down to talent for some reason, but I'm with you. Like, if we even struggle in this game, that's going to cause major concerns for me. Like, Georgia Tech is, on the rise, and they're a much improved program. They're a program that a lot of people nationally are now starting to take notice of. So you've got to win convincingly games like this, right? So then we host Clemson, a team that we haven't beaten since Deshaun Watson's freshman year. And I know because I was there. And he also got hurt in the first quarter of that game.
Towards ACL that game.
Yeah, tragically. I'm never going to predict us to beat Clemson until we do. Just pretty much how it is. So a lot of people are critical of Clemson right now, and for good reason, but a lot of people talk about Clemson like they're this awful team. They're not. They won the conference last year. I don't know what the line on this will be. It'll probably be plus 7.5 at a minimum for Clemson, but I'm not going to pick us to beat Clemson until we get over this hump. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's clear Clemson has taken a step back. He's not the same. Clemson's not the same dominant, just absolutely just blowing everybody out team that they have been in the past. They're still really good. They're still really good. Their defense is still probably going to be a top 5 defense. Cade Klubnik really turned it on there in the end of the season, and was a dark horse Heisman candidate in some people's eyes. I think Clemson's going to be a tough game, especially in Atlanta. It'll be interesting. I'm not gonna say that we're gonna win that game either, but I'm also never gonna say that we're gonna lose a game. So.
All right, I don't want to cover your bases with your own people there. So, moving on to Temple. So let's see. I've got us 2-1 up to this point. I want us to beat the absolute fool out of Temple. If you guys forgot what it was like with Moron Collins, Pool Noodle Wiener Slapper Collins, all right, we only scored 2 points against Temple when he was here. Now, we shouldn't have a problem with Temple. Also, I hate the city of Philadelphia, so I'd like to beat Temple. You think anything less? We're going to do anything less against Temple?
No, I think that should be a pretty decent win there. I'm not really too worried about that one either.
Then we take our second road game before the bye. We go on the road at Wake Forest. Now, Wake Forest has a new coach. Wake Forest has been on a major decline for the last 2 years now. I don't even know who Wake's coach is. I know they've hired one, but I don't. I think this is an easy win for Tech. Now, this is the type of game Tech loves to lose, for sure. Yep. But I don't know anything that would make me think that Tech shouldn't win this game.
Yep. Yeah, same. I don't think Wake Forest has been they've been rough the last couple years, really since Sam Hartman left. They've been really, really bad. I will say when we played them, I think we played them 2 years ago, 2023. The way that we beat them, I was shocked.
Yeah,
like I thought we'd win it, but I didn't think that the game would go the way that it did. Now they did kind of try to make a charge there towards the end of the game. But yeah, they've just not been very good the last few years. So I would say this is, I would project this as a win right now. I think going into the bye week 5-1, I think is a really or 4-1, excuse me, uh, is a very real possibility.
Yes.
And would be great to go in that bye week and then hit the meat of ACC play.
Agree. Got a $5 super chat here from Zach Jones. Says Clemson's defense will give us a fit. I'd be impressed if we score more than 25. That'll be our new DC's first test. Need to limit Klubnik to have a shot. That's true. Klubnik's going to be a preseason Heisman contender. And he's gonna create problems for us. So we get a bye, then we bring Virginia Tech. We host Virginia Tech at Bobby Dodd. Now, this is the game that if I could have one back minus the Georgia game last year, it would have been Virginia Tech. That's a game that I really feel like we had the talent and everything to win. Didn't end up happening. Admittedly, I don't know anything about Virginia Tech. Just looking at the schedule, I'd say between Virginia Tech, Duke, and Syracuse, I'd say we probably lose one of those. But I don't know which one because I don't know much about either one of those teams. Duke has a brand new head coach. No, they don't. Never mind. Second year head coach. They have a new DC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Syracuse loses Honda McCord. So I don't know. I'd say we lose one of these games, and it's probably, I hate to say it, I'd probably pick Virginia Tech, but I don't know.
Yeah, that one will be interesting. I don't think anybody knows anything about Georgia Tech or Virginia Tech, to be honest. You saw beginning of the season, Virginia Tech was a dark horse ACC champion pick, and they had all the talent, the recruiting class, the transfer portal class was crazy. I don't think it's and they were what 6-6, 5-7, whatever they were.
Yeah.
I do think Virginia Tech will be kind of a little bit of a revenge game. I think the guys will come out hungry for that one, knowing, hey, that was one we should have had. That was one we should have won. I think if we start Philo that game, I think we probably have a better chance.
Sure.
I think if Haynes King wasn't hurt, I think we have a better chance, but shoulda, coulda, woulda, whatever. So I would say we beat Virginia Tech. I would say we beat honestly, I think we go 4-0 in that stretch.
Oh wow, you got us going 4-0 here. Yeah, I think I would be happy with Tech going 1-3 in this stretch. I think Virginia Tech's a tough game. I think Syracuse takes a step back this year, especially as stupid and silly as their coach is, Fran Brown, that likes to get mad at Brent Key for not saying they're besties back in the day, and then getting mad at people playing tubas while they're trying to kick at halftime. NC State's going to be tough. That's probably the game I go to. I'm not going to be able to go to Colorado. I probably will try to make this trip to NC State. But I think ideally you go 1-3, win one of these 4 games here. But I don't know much about any one of these individual teams. I know that quarterback NC State had gave us fits last year.
You mean you'd be happy with us losing one of those 4?
Well, I'm just looking at that would, for what we're talking about, that would put us 2 losses going into November 15th. If you're telling me you're a Georgia Tech fan and you only have 2 losses going into the last 3 games, let me phrase it this way. That is an improvement over last year.
For sure. I don't think it's impossible. I think the Syracuse game, I think that's another revenge game. I think Brent Key's going to have the guys ready to play that one. One, because what happened last year, obviously, dude with his antics is delusional. And then 2,
Weird.
It's homecoming. I think the guys will be ready for that one. Duke's kind of an unknown as well. I know they got Darian Mensah from Tulane to replace Malik Murphy, who's probably an upgrade from Malik Murphy. But even then, I'm not really too sure what Duke looks like or what Duke is going to do. NC State went through a lot of changes. I'm pretty sure NC State has a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator this year. So they have some changes and
They
some things
lost
that
2 quarterbacks.
yeah. So it's we'll see. But I do think us being, um, I mean, I don't know. I think us being 8-1 going into that Boston College game, I think is very possible.
Yeah, so that would be you losing to Clemson and then running the schedule everywhere else. Hey, I'm not going to say that that's unreasonable. So we get a bye. We go at Boston College. That game, of all the teams that we probably quote unquote should beat, scares me the most because Boston College was much improved last year, especially after they got rid of fumbling Casanellos.
Yeah.
And I do think their coach is going to have them ready. Boston College is a team I feel like we've struggled with in the past. They're just generally a team that's built similar to how Tech is now. Yeah. And that game scares me, though.
Yeah, I mean, they have a 68, I think they're ranked 68, 70th from Rivals, or 24/7, I believe, 24/7. And I'm not sure who they brought in to replace Thomas Castellanos. I think they got Dylan Lonergan, right, from Bama to replace him. So yeah, that's an interesting ad. One thing that I do think is funny, I live in Houston, in the Houston area now.
Okay.
But I used to live in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and Shaker Rising, a quarterback from a high school in Tulsa, they added to their class, who was a beast in high school. So I think that's a really interesting ad. So I think he's going to have some really decent competition with Dylan from Bama to see who takes that spot. But I think they're adding a lot. They're not bringing in a ton of talent to replace what they lost. That's an interesting pick.
Yeah, look, I'm wrong all the time. Something about that I feel like is going to be troublesome for Tech. Someone in the chat says, yeah, it's going to be really cold, especially in Boston that time of year. Pitt, lost the last 7-8 games of their season. Yeah. Pat Narduzzi's going to be. Does he have the hottest seat in the ACC this year? He might.
No, I don't think so. I think Eli Holstein got hurt, in that back half of that season. So I don't think he's on the hottest seat. I think his seat's a little warm.
He was on the hot seat before that, and I get your quarterback gets hurt, but you can't win one game in a 7-game stretch is a little concerning.
I think they started the season 5-0.
I think they started 6-0.
6-0, yeah. I think so. Yeah, you're right.
So I don't know what to think about that game. And look, as far as the Georgia game, and we got some Georgia people in the chat tonight saying Brent Key's a crybaby and all this. Let me tell you something. All right.
Yeah, I don't understand. I don't get it.
Here's the thing. These morons were complaining about having to play UMass before Georgia Tech. And then you're going to come in my chat and call me soft? I don't care. You played UMass. What juggernaut did you schedule before the game this year? Do you know? Because I know more about Georgia football than most Georgia fans. You scheduled the juggernaut of Charlotte. And you complain, oh, we're in a short week. Y'all had 8 days. Well, I thought y'all were just so much better than us. Why does any of that matter? I guess be like Lane Kiffin, put your skirt on and bitch about your non-con schedule. All right. I think first of all, let me say this. 8-4 would probably be a disappointment on the schedule. I think 9-3 would be an improvement, and a lot of fans would be happy with. But one of those wins has to come between Clemson and Georgia. You got to beat one of these two schools. If I had to pick one that we're going to beat, it would be Georgia. Georgia, they basically ran Carson Beck out of town. Now who's going to play quarterback for you? Gunnar Stockton? All right, maybe he's good, but you don't know. You got a big question mark at quarterback right now.
Mm-hmm.
You had the guy Rashada come in for a year. He's gone now. He came in, got Kirby's blessing to sue Billy Napier at Florida, and then he left. So you don't have him. So I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear your excuses. Screw all of you. I hate every one of you individually from the bottom of my heart. So anyways, Montague, is there anything you want to say about Georgia? I mean, did they not complain about having to play UMass? Did they not do that?
They did.
Yeah.
They did.
Well,
While we played, it felt like like our season, we played all Power 4 teams the entire schedule. We opened the season with Florida State, number 10 team in the country. This year we opened up with Colorado. It's like, I feel like we deserve one of those easy schedules at some point.
Well, I'm fine with not having one. I mean, this is our non-con: Colorado, Gardner-Webb, Temple, and Georgia. Let's just go look at what their non-con looks like. Let's go look at Georgia's non-con.
That's probably the easiest non-conference schedule we've had.
2025 football schedule. Let's go look at that. Real quick here. Just real quick. You've got Marshall, the Austin P Governors. That's your first two games, by the way. And then you've got Charlotte and Georgia Tech. And I guarantee you'll be complaining about having to play Charlotte before us this year. And then you'll be complaining after we stick it in without asking. You'll complain about that too. And I'll be here for it. Be right here in the chat. Y'all can come in. Sorry, I'll give you your time now.
No, I think that's a game that we'll be excited for. Despite what Georgia fans say, I thought it was a great game. Obviously, we didn't win, didn't get the result that we should have gotten. But it was a fun game to watch. It was entertaining. Like if you just like football, it's a really entertaining game to watch.
They're trying to silence him. This is the Georgia deep state trying to silence Tay right now. And I won't have it.
40-something to 0.
Yeah.
And then we lost to who? We lost to Georgia 50-something to 0 or whatever it was, flip-flop. However,
are you talking about under Collins?
Yeah, lost 100 to 0 in our last two games.
It was 55 to 0 to Notre Dame, and then 45 to 0 against Georgia. And truth be told, Georgia could have scored 150 points against us if they wanted to that year.
If they wanted to, for sure. So to see Brent Key close the gap so quickly, in 2 years as a head coach here is pretty impressive. For us to I think his first year, we played, with Tyson Pumachan and Zach Gibson. That game was a wash. But to see how the game played out last season, in Atlanta, had a chance to make it interesting there in the last few minutes, and then last year or this past November's game, I think the gap has been closed significantly between the two programs, which I think is exciting, and it hopefully revives that rivalry where clean old-fashioned hate means something, and it doesn't just mean what has felt like just a guaranteed Georgia win every year.
It means something now. I mean, they're worried about it now, truth be told. They're thinking whatever God they believe in, that they were able to win that game. And it's interesting you bring up Pumachan. My God, we might have just had a breakthrough. That's why they're afraid of UMass. Because this guy that drove it right down their throat the opening drive, that there wasn't a single person watching that game that thought he was going to pass when he just ran, unobstructed to the end zone. You know where he ended up, WT7? UMass. Ended up at UMass. And since you want to bring up ancient history, the Citadel. Georgia is the only team, since they've ranked teams for, 40 years or however long, that has been a top 5 team that lost to an unranked team. And that was South Carolina and Will Muschamp. And guess what? I was there. I was at that game. So keep bringing up ancient history and whatever, because I'm gonna run you right off the internet before this season's over. That I do know, just like I did all the Florida State fans. Hey, they ain't a Florida State fan to be seen, is there? Not a single one in the chat. That's interesting. Hell, you keep talking to Wreck, you might be the next one goes 2-10. You better be careful. $5 from Zach Jones says, the truth is that UGA fans aren't prepared to see Georgia Tech competitive. That is true. They say, I want y'all to be good, but when Georgia Tech gives them a game, they yap excuses. No, what they want, they say they want it to be competitive, but they're too soft for that. What they want is to beat Georgia Tech by like 17 every year, and then it's in contention for 3 quarters. That's what they really want. So anyways, I guess we'll wrap the show up here. Again, if you want the best Georgia Tech information run by fans, where 100% of the money goes right back to Georgia Tech, sign up for Afterswarm. They have a Substack. They have a forum now. And is there any final words you have for the people? I've gotten fired up here, so go ahead and tell them.
No, you're good, bro. I love the energy. I would say, hey, just keep sticking with us. We're adding and trying to doing what we can to give to give fans the best experience that we can. Our goal is to just be able to cover the team from a fan perspective. We don't have press passes. We don't have, we're not in media availabilities and press conferences and everything like that. The stuff that we do is just, hey, we're DMing recruits on Twitter and getting them to do an interview with us. We're talking to players when we can. We do have a couple of sources that we use that we get some of our information from. Like, we do what we can. But keep rocking with us. Keep watching us. We're looking at adding some stuff. Like I said earlier, getting into the YouTube space, and doing some different things to just kind of bring more and more eyes to Georgia Tech football and Georgia Tech sports as a whole. So it's been a fun ride so far, but we're not done.
Well, awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on and putting up with my shenanigans. What was that restaurant again? Shenanigans? And having a good time, man. So with that, guys, I appreciate everyone for coming on. I appreciate you, everyone in the chat. Whether you're a Georgia Tech fan or not, like, I like Motivated Dedicated. WT7 knows that he's just a troll, and you kind of give me content to go rage, because I don't really have a target anymore. Jeff Collins, as far as I know, is out of a job, so I don't have a target for my rage and ire and just the hate that exists in the bottom of my heart. So you guys have a good one.